And we're back again with another episode of Witty Banter. Your host Nabil here with Daniel and Anika,
Or Hugh Woman.
or Hugh Woman,
Anika is good.
and our special guest today from the other side of the pond, Aamer Qureshi. Hey, Aamer.
Hey guys, happy to be
Hi.
here.
Nice. What if someone said, "I'm not happy to be here"? That'll throw me
Quite
off.
miserable, but I made it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for those who don't know, Amer is our cousin, mine and Daniel's cousin. Um, and Amer is really into music and is an entrepreneur. And maybe we could start off by, Amer, you could kind of describe maybe what you're up to in England and uh, what you're trying to do with your business and music in general.
We can get into
Well,
oh, go ahead.
well, after I graduated, I did a master's in media and communications here, and after that, I decided I wanted to go into business, and I started a business in what I was pretty much the thing which I was most interested in at the time, which is high-end audio products and just nice sounding audio products like earphones, headphones, that kind of thing.
Mm.
I was reviewing them on my YouTube channel and on my site. Decided I was going to get some brands which I didn't have any representation in the UK, and I was going to take them and I was going to become their distributor in the UK. So that's what I've been doing since about March 2017 now. So it's been almost 2 years now.
Okay.
And I have two brands. One is a Chinese company, and one is a company based in Chicago. And I import their products and I sell them to the local market, usually the UK and the EU in general.
And how do you approach these companies?
Or do they approach you?
Well,
No, I approach them.
yeah, and then like when you're approaching them, I assume it's via email, and like do you have to convince them that you're going to be able to sell their goods, or what's the discussion like between suppliers like that?
Well, the first time was with Lee, who is my friend and business partner, basically, and my supplier in Shenyang, China.
Mm.
And he has these earbuds which he's been selling on Taobao and AliExpress for like years now. They cost like $5 or $6, and they sound very good for the price. So they got really popular. They had a lot of reviews online. One of those reviews was by me back before I knew him. But I had a good rapport with him because he saw my reviews and thought they were really, really good. And he talked to me and said, you should continue with this. He helped some companies reach out to me and send me review demo products so I could borrow them and review them and send them back. Um, when
So,
the time came where I wanted to represent his brand here, I said to him, I said, I want to start a distributorship. I'd like to carry your products here in the UK. And he said to me, he's like, I don't really need a distributor in the UK. He's like, but since it's you, go ahead. So he says, for the next 5 years, go ahead. You can sell to the UK. He's like, he's pretty much like the kind of guy. He's like, he's so busy with the Chinese market, which is where the real money is,
Mm-hmm.
that he says, if it helps you out in the UK, then go ahead. So he gave me the dealer terms, the dealer sheet, and I import um, every few months or so. I get like 1,000 AirPods, and I put them up on Amazon,
Mm.
and then they just sell by themselves. Amazon Prime, what's it called? Fulfilled by Amazon. So you send them to their warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Every time somebody places an order, they can be fulfilled with Prime shipping really quickly.
hmm.
So I
Gotcha.
don't have to ship those out myself every day because they sell pretty much every day now,
Oh wow.
and
Do you think
they're very cheap. Like they're like eight or £9 in the UK.
hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, I was gonna ask what medium do you sell it? So most of your sales come from Amazon, or do you do on your like sell on your website as well, or?
The earbud sales were on Amazon and
Hmm.
continue to be on Amazon. It's been since March 2017. I started selling on Amazon all the way till July of last year, 2018,
Hmm.
when I started my own site. Because when I took on the second company, this company based in Chicago, and they make like very high-end handcrafted wooden headphones. Um, Also, it started with me having reviewed them in the past and being a fan of the sound. And I approached Zach, who is the guy who makes them, and I said, "Let me be your distributor in the UK." and he was already looking for European distributors. He found one in the Netherlands, he found one in Germany, and he found me, and he knew that I liked the headphones. He liked my reviews in the past, and he was like, "Sure." So I went ahead and I've started doing that as well. But the nature of those headphones are that since they're handcrafted, I have to be very, very careful about the margins because I have to be very like
D-
every penny counts pretty much.
So who buys what's the clientele for handcrafted headphones, and how long would, I mean, I guess, is it a lifetime commitment once you've invested in that kind of headphone?
Sure, yeah. Um,
I guess it's people
well,
who
who
just.
it, it depends.
Yeah.
There's people like you two guys your age. I meet them. They usually buy the entry level stuff, which is still like $1,000, but still. If you go higher up in the range, I met a fellow last week at a local audio shop. He asked to meet me there and demo the headphones, and he walked away saying, "You'll probably get an order from me with the most expensive one you have because this one is definitely my favorite." And he was probably in his late 60s.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So it really varies. I mean, one thing I can say is that it's all guys,
Yeah.
and it's all but the age range, the ethnicity, everything else is very varied.
Hmm.
There's all kinds of guys, and they all have different preferences, and
And it's
the
mainly
headphones each model
music
does something distinct.
music listeners.
I guess it depends on the price range too, right? I'm sure the earbuds, pretty much anyone would be willing to buy,
Oh yeah,
right?
the earbuds are an easy sell for the price because
Mm.
that's what the kind of reviews I've been getting on Amazon. Like, oh, I didn't expect them to be this good for the price. And when December came around, my sales doubled on the earbuds because I'm pretty sure people wanted to buy them and give them out for Christmas,
Hmm.
which is a nice thought. But for the big size headphones, it's definitely people want to demo them first. They want to be absolutely sure before they put down the money. And but I still get lots of orders by people randomly at like 4 in the morning.
Mm.
Um, Place an order. Somebody from Sweden randomly placed an order last week, and then at 4 in the morning I'm awake and I look at the order and I think, okay, I hope he's not drunk or anything. I hope he doesn't send me an email in 6 hours saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to."
Uh,
But
Or
that's never
where is
happened.
it?
People are very sure, and
so
they go through the orders.
can anyone from around the world order specifically from you through your Amazon shop?
My Amazon shop is only to both of them are only to the EU.
Okay,
The
gotcha.
Amazon shop I originally had it set to only the UK, but I think they automatically made it so my earbuds can go around the EU, but I'm not quite sure. But
Hmm.
most of my orders are from the UK, and for the headphones, it's EU in general.
One thing I noticed on Amazon at least is when you set up a business page, you have two choices. There's one that's like a monthly fee, and then one's they charge by the product. Is there like did you have those options, or what was kind of your thought process on like
There's a
choosing those?
monthly subscription fee of £30,
Okay.
which I do pay, but then they also shave off some off the top of each product. So it's kind of like both. Because if you go
Hmm.
fulfilled by Amazon, they take about, I would say, 30%
Hmm.
on each earbud sale. That's why, yeah, about 30% on each earbud sale, they probably take off the top. But it makes sense because they're housing them, they're shipping them out really fast, they're
Right.
packaging them. I send them like 500 earbuds at a time, and the guys at the
Warehouse.
warehouse,
Yeah.
they take them out, I label them, but they scan them and all that. So I don't mind that. I think it's a good it's very good to have access to that. Um, the fact that Amazon is so huge, and the
Right.
fact that Amazon has people review the things, they get exposure and fast shipping. It's just you can't really beat it for that kind of product. But for the big size headphones, I can't put them on Amazon because 30% off the top would be huge. That's
Yeah.
probably around what I would make after VAT, after import charges, after all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
That kind of thing, I can't really put them on like these wooden headphones. That's
Mm.
why I started my site for these. Also, it gives me a better platform to have my own marketing
Mm. And
and to have my own like site design. I use Squarespace. It's a little expensive, but I was using it previously for my own blog. So I decided I'm going to get a business account now with Squarespace, and I think that was a good decision because I don't really know HTML. I don't really
right.
know website design, but even for someone like me, it's been really simple to use.
Mm.
So I've managed to get a running site and all that.
And they handle billing as well, or how does that work? Like on Squarespace?
Billing is done through there's two options. You can have PayPal or you can have PayPal and you can also have a company called Stripe
Mm.
Okay, I haven't heard of
who
that.
PayPal pay you immediately, but Stripe they wait a week, then they give you the money into your account. But I didn't opt for PayPal because for the level of selling that I'm doing, they have their highest possible cut that they take off the top,
Hmm.
which is 3.4%. If
Okay.
you sell like 5,000 or 15,000 in a month, they'll lower it to like 1.8 or something. Whereas Stripe, even though they wait a week to pay you, they charge about 2%. So I thought I'm going with Stripe for now.
Hmm.
Because when it comes to something of this price, every little percentage counts, I think.
Right. On the high ticket
So,
items.
Amir, tell us a bit about, we focus in this podcast on creativity. And, you're focusing on your entrepreneurial business endeavors, but you're also a musician. What is the relationship between your business and your love of music and your, ability to create it? Tell us a bit about when you started playing the guitar and how you learnt to play it and how it relates to the business that you're doing, if it does.
The first time I tried playing guitar at length was when I visited Sami Khalil's family in summer of 2004
Where?
in Dubai.
Oh, okay.
I visited them in Dubai,
Mm-hmm.
and Nasir Khalu's guitars were there.
Mm.
And I didn't know how to even hold the notes with my left hand. I would just pick the open strings, which were heavily detuned, because I didn't know how to tune them. With my right hand, I'd mess with the tuners, and I broke a string that way, I remember. And I went back to Pakistan deciding, okay, I want to learn guitar now. And I think it was Shehryar, who is, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, my uncle's
Yes.
cousin, kind.
Mm-hmm.
He had a guitar, which I think it was a trendy thing in Lahore at the time to
Mm-hmm.
pick up the guitar, but then you have to teach yourself. So he gave it to my mom, who brought it to me, and I fiddled around with it. Then I learned how to hold the notes, and basically all my learning was done online. I
Hmm.
didn't have a teacher or anything.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I would go online, I'd learn how to read guitar tabs. I learned how to tune the guitar and just playing along with Green Day songs and Oasis songs and building my way up to more intricate stuff. But it was always something I was pushing myself to do because nobody around me, well, my father loves music, but he was playing a different instrument and playing in an entirely different kind of music.
Hmm.
Whereas I liked American music and British music, English music, and I wanted to learn to play those songs on the guitar. So it's been carrying on since then. I went to America in 2007. I bought the guitar I always wanted. I've had it since then.
Which one is
And
that?
then that's my it's called an ESP KH2. It's the black guitar I have.
Mm.
It's the one I think Daniel saw when you
Oh,
must have seen it
was
when you
that the
visited
one?
me.
It was owned by someone in like from Metallica, or like that same brand, or
Yeah,
okay,
it's that signature by the Gant. It's the
okay,
one with
yeah,
the skull and
yeah, yeah,
crossbones
yeah.
on
Have you
the
made
Looks
a
cool.
YouTube
back.
video of you playing it? Because if so, I've seen it through that then.
He
Yeah,
probably
yeah, I
has.
did
Okay.
last year.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that guitar has been my main guitar since, but I only ever had that guitar, and then sometimes I'd have an extra one as well. But then last year, there was a long period of a few years where my interest kind of waned
Mm-hmm.
because I was getting so into headphones. It started was 2016, really into headphones, really into audio gear, really into earphones, earbuds, all these kinds of things. That I didn't really play guitar that much, but the start of last year, I suddenly I live in a house share. So it's like this large
Mm.
house, and there's
Mm-hmm.
four.
Oh,
Uh-oh. We lose him?
we
Yep.
lost him.
We lost you.
No. Okay, let's try calling him back again.
brief intermission.
A brief intermission.
I wonder if it's like frozen like that for everyone else.
I guess that's the hassle of international.
Well,
Guests?
we didn't disconnect from you.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Yeah, that was.
That was in
impressive.
Pakistan too. That wasn't even.
I think it's on his end.
Well, he's so. I mean, one of the things that I think I'd like to catch up with him about is, how come it was just a guitar and no other musical instrument, and how obsessive do you need to be to get to the point where he's at?
Well, probably the music that he was interested in, like, naturally brought him there.
Mhm.
But you're right. He could have easily done drums or something else.
Oh, that would have been painful if he was, as he's saying, he's in a home where.
Yeah, shared
Yes.
living space. I was gonna ask him that. Like, I wonder if he's gotten any complaints.
Yeah.
Of like,
Yeah.
man, could you keep it down?
You started playing the
Piano?
piano, yes.
The Russian teacher.
Yeah.
She was nice, but the husband was like very Dmitri.
Yeah,
he was very
yeah.
strict.
Yeah.
I remember that.
What
album.
did that help you flourish as a musician, or did it kill your?
I think it killed, because then I was too nervous to even like.
Knew me online, so he just walked downstairs and knocked on the door.
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to." But then I noticed his T-shirt, and he had like a band T-shirt, like David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. And I said, "Hey, I love that guy." And he's like, "I love that guy." so we became friends from like shared like blues and old classic rock music, and we jam sometimes, and we go to guitar stores and try out stuff.
And I guess
But when I saw his collection of guitars, I kind of thought, I want stuff too. So I went and bought a bunch of guitars after that, because each of them does a different thing.
Right.
That black one I have, even though it's really nice for metal, you can't really play blues with it, and you can't really play clean picking style stuff with it too. So.
Right. And I guess when you have it, when you're playing, it's connected to your computer, and then you have your headphones on, so it's not like you have your amplifier just blasting.
We
That's
seem to
the
have a
point.
technical difficulty
Yeah,
here.
here, Aamer, I'm just gonna hang up real quick, and I'm gonna call you back just so I can get your video on our stream.
Okay.
Dun, 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 dun. We don't have the guests. I mean, the viewers don't have any comments. We don't have anyone
How
who's
funny would it be if
interested
we
in.
just weren't streaming this whole time?
What?
I said, how funny would it be if we just weren't streaming this whole time?
Hello?
Trying to get it.
Yes.
All right, we can hear you, and
And
can we see you?
We can see a blue screen.
There we go.
Sorry, I have to switch. I have to switch to my phone because
Yes.
That
my tablet's
works.
having issues.
That works.
This is good. This is good. We see you.
Right. Sorry. So back to the conversation.
So now you said you had 8 guitars now? Or did you have them last year?
Now he has 5, I think.
Earlier last year, yeah. Now I sold a few. Now I've settled on the 5 electric guitars that I have, and one cheap bass guitar, because I don't really play bass. I'm still learning, and one cheap acoustic guitar, and 2 cheap novelty guitars, I guess you could call them. One's called the cigar box guitar, which has 4 strings, and it's a square guitar basically.
And
But
a quick interjection here. Timur wants to know regarding Brexit, did that affect your supply chain, imports and exports in any way?
when the vote happened, I wasn't doing business at all. So
no.
So now.
But do you anticipate if they are able to follow through on Brexit? Do you anticipate a change?
I'm anticipating something. That's why I've been placing orders to get stuff into the country before it happens. Just building up stock, which I'm keeping here in front of me. Because I don't know what's going to happen to the exchange rate again, but it's already been dipping quite a bit since July even. the pound is nowhere near as strong as it was when I first came to the UK. It was
Mm.
almost $2 to a pound then. Then when Brexit happened, it fell all the way down to 1.19, 1.2. Now it's 1.28. But when I started the business, it was 1.34.
Mm.
So every little thing I have to keep in my mind, because I have to pay my suppliers in dollars, even the Chinese one.
Hmm.
So, I have to reflect the prices if I can in my own store. And nothing so drastic has happened yet. But I remember there's a local distributor whom I know of. I've met him quite a few times at shows. His site he had to bump up the price of everything on average by like 50 to 200 pounds, depending on the price of it originally.
Hmm.
Everything after Brexit, because the
Yeah.
exchange rate had plummeted so much that he was losing money if he didn't do that.
I remember that was when I was visiting too. So I was like, Brexit happened, and I was in New York, and then I started seeing the things about the pound dropping. I'm like, yes,
Because you were going there on vacation.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I would have made traveling and visiting the UK much, much cheaper, I'm sure, but over here it was like calamity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even with those things considered, how do you feel? Uh, do you ever get worried about, oh no, my business? Well, first of all, would you say your business is bringing you a sustainable income? Do you feel like comfortable, paying your living expenses just off the income from your business?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
And in the foreseeable
Um,
future, does that?
Will it
Do you
retain?
feel that you'll retain that, or do you think maybe you'll have to pivot at some point? Or
no, I think I'll maintain that. It's the new stuff that's coming has been a bit popular. Once I get stock of the new flagship, even
Mm.
2 sales of those a month would be really good for me,
Mm.
because that is the top of the line one.
And I'm assuming the
Um,
more. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe this is also a sign of a growing global middle class, because that just means that there's a growing market for high-end audio equipment,
Well,
specifically
not only that,
headphones.
like even just selling online in general, there's a lot of people who go on Shopify and Amazon and sell there. So
Mm.
yeah, but yeah, it's definitely more easy to become an entrepreneur now because like you were saying, all the shipping and stocking is kind of handled by Amazon, right? So
for the earbuds, for the
mm,
headphones, I ship them out every so often. I have all the packing materials and boxes in here,
mm,
and I ship them out to people, usually as fast as I can, because the people love that.
mm.
Because I've noticed the impatience, thanks to Amazon Prime, is at an all-time high.
Of course, of
Mm.
course. I mean, who doesn't open the door as soon as they hear the doorbell ring and
Or it's
think
been
it's going
2
to be
days, like where's my package?
I
So,
bought something on Thursday, and I'll receive it tomorrow, and even that feels like a lifetime.
yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
So, what do
So
you think? We last time we talked about pivoting and making changes to your lifestyle. Your business is fairly new. Your music you've been doing for many, many years. What do you see yourself doing differently,
Or
over the
do
next
you?
few years? Or do you think you're going to continue on this trajectory?
I have to continue on this trajectory and learn how to be better at it. Because right now, I'm not a salesman. I've never really been a salesman. It's not really been in my nature to like get that, the stereotypical salesman who
Hey,
can
let me
go
talk
out
to you
and
about
just
some
Yeah.
products I got.
Some premium
But
Yeah,
headphones.
but do
it's
you even buy from salespeople? I mean, you yourself, you bought 8 guitars. Did you have to be convinced by someone, or is there something else
oh
going
no,
on?
no. There's a lot of research involved by the person themselves before they make these decisions, including by me.
Mm-hmm.
Before I bought every guitar, I knew there was something I was going to be interested in. And I bought online, and I bought them used, so I'd always get a good deal on them. And I knew if I wanted to sell them afterwards, I'd always be able to break even at least.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So there is that. And the same goes with the headphones that I'm selling. Yes, in the UK, there hasn't been any representation of these headphones before, because it's been a US brand. And the guy himself has been going to American shows, trade shows. his first trade show in the UK was last year, and that was the time I met him and his wife for the first time. And this was after I was distributor, so we had like an online friendship that turned into a business relationship beforehand. And then I finally got to meet him after I was already his distributor. And then at the table, I did a lot of the talking. I guess I was being a salesman, but it wasn't so much being a salesman. It was more like people already knew that I was a reviewer. So they would say to me, okay, can you describe the difference between these two? And I like this kind of music. Which of these 5 models would I like the most? Why do you think that? You know, that kind of, just engaging with people in that regard and being able to talk about the hobby in general kind of works because you help people decide what they want.
Mm-hmm.
So would you call
And
yourself an influencer?
Well, also, I was going to say, I would still consider that
That's probably the new way of
sales.
selling. Being an influencer.
Yeah.
You're kind of hitting the people who are interested, and you're growing their interest in a not so
a year ago,
rash
I would
way.
have,
Right.
A year ago, I would have been like, I don't want to be an influencer. I just want to talk about headphones and the stuff that I like, the stuff that I've been buying. I used to buy headphones used, review them, then sell them, and then buy something else, review them, and sell them. Eventually, I started finding stuff that I really liked, and I'll end up keeping those. And what ended up happening is, yes, I did end up influencing people who later on I met them. Like 6 months into doing the reviews, I realized I actually had a following online. People, because when I went to a trade show, like people will recognize me by my voice.
Wow.
And they say, yeah, you convinced me to buy that headphone. Then in my head, I was thinking 6 months ago, I thought that was a really good headphone. Nowadays, I'm kind of lukewarm on it, but I didn't say that. But I kind of chalked it up to my own growing experience with headphones and what I liked, and my tastes kind of shifted as well. Like when I first started listening to high-end headphones, I wasn't really listening to like jazz music or really like old, really well-done acoustic recordings and binaural recordings. But once I started getting better and better headphones, I started really liking those old Miles Davis albums and old jazz recordings, really, really well produced and recorded stuff, because you can hear them really well on a good pair of headphones. And when I started getting better headphones, I started hitting those differences, and my taste kind of changed as well. I mean, I still like the metal and I still like the old stuff that I listened to when I was a teenager, but there's a more variety now, and it's easier to talk to people too, because older people usually tend to like that kind of music as well. So I can talk to them as well.
Do you think there was like do you think, we kind of brought it up before the podcast, but like, do you think there was a conflict of interest, or do you think that it's like, okay, I like the product and I'm telling people to buy it, but I also happen to get a percentage, or did that not even happen?
Oh, you mean like affiliate links? No, that never happened with me.
Oh, okay.
I never had Amazon affiliate links. I never had any company affiliates. I never got it. Eventually, what ended up happening was that my university panel, whom I can talk to you about later, basically how I ended up in this gig that I'm doing right now, they sponsored my visa, my entrepreneur visa, and I'm pretty sure one of the reasons they did it is because they saw my YouTube following, which when I first started was about 700 subscribers. And then they saw it grow and grow. I think they were keeping tabs on it because they started talking to me like I was an influencer and that I should wholly embrace it and go after brands and say, send me your product, I'll review it, but you have to pay me first. It'll be a sponsored review. And I got really
So
annoyed.
how many followers do you have now?
Now I have a little 4,020 something.
Whoa.
Ooh.
So it's growing in the background very, very slowly because I haven't really uploaded a review in several months, and I don't think I'm going to for a while.
What are your thoughts?
But I never made any benefits off of being a reviewer unless it was like a reviewer discount on something. But that was like a personal purchase on my part. It wasn't like a company paying me for a review or anything.
Right. Would you be open to that, or do you think that affiliate marketing is kind of like not very authentic?
Now, I've seen Linus do it. I've seen lots of people do it. It's just it invites the most critical kind of people who maybe like 10% of your audience would care a lot about that sort of thing, and they will not trust you after that. And for some reason, I really cared about maintaining the most amount of trust from everybody, because I thought if I'm going to put so much work into these reviews, which I'm not getting anything out of in
Right.
terms of monetary return, like I kept trying to put ads on my site. I couldn't figure it out, so I just left it. I didn't really care that much. So, but the YouTube revenue did happen slowly and steadily. I did get a few returns on that, but it wasn't really about that. And the idea that when the university panel said I should pursue that, I did kind of get offended, because I thought this is a completely separate thing from my business, which they endorsed me for the visa, and I really shouldn't have to, because it's like a hobby thing. So once they started talking about monetizing in fact, one of them even said to me, he's like, "Why are you so against making money?" So they said you have some kind of 70s hippie attitude about making money. I said, no, I don't. It's like I want to make money through my business. My reviews are my pastime. It's always been a pastime. I could not imagine going to a company and saying, send me your product and pay me this much money, and then I'll do a sponsored review. Even though that does happen, that happens a lot.
Right.
With guitar reviewers, it happens with Linus, it happens with all kinds of tech reviewers. And they make a living off of that. I wasn't making my living off of reviews, so I didn't really feel the need to do that. I have nothing against people who do that, but I do think it should be disclosed every time.
Right.
In fact, I'm pretty sure it's the law. You have to disclose any sponsorship that happens.
I think on Instagram they do the same thing. Like you have to have your
Instagram, YouTube. There's a little tick box you have to put if there's sponsored content in the video. And so I never ended up doing any sponsored content. The only thing it benefited me, the whole review thing, is that it got me a following, people who trust me. It got me exposure, and it got me the place that I am today, where I was able to approach 2 dealers and have them let me be their distributor in the UK, basically. So I was able to springboard using the reviews into this part of life now, which is the business, basically. So I can stop the reviews and move on to having guitar as a hobby and having the business being headphones and earphones and stuff like that, and selling them.
So, Aamer, I know you mentioned that your interest is not that much in Pakistani music, but we know that you are very interested in Pakistani food, a particular kind of food. And we have a question here. Nabil can probably read it out.
From Timur, question for Aamer. What's your current special home-cooked dish? We have seen you've really stepped up your cooking game in recent years.
I like making, there's an aloo keema, which is spicy. I don't know why I'm explaining this, but it's like a spicy.
Well, some viewers might not know.
with potatoes. And I love making that because I make it very differently than anybody I've met before, in Pakistan especially, because they like to have it a little more like a gravy of sorts. I like to have it a little bit more dry, but then I like eating it with yogurt, and it has a little bit of a coolant next to really spicy keema. And that juxtaposition has been really good. In fact, I make burritos out of it, and I had my Chinese friend try it, and she was like, this is amazing. Like, you could literally sit in Camden in a stall and sell this to people.
I think
new business.
If your business doesn't work out, just do that.
Just start selling burritos.
Aloo keema burritos.
I feel like when we went to Zareen's, like that whole Pakistani burrito, Indian burrito is kind of.
There's a restaurant here in Palo Alto called Zareen's, and they have this.
What is it? Butter chicken.
Chicken tikka burrito, basically.
Right.
So it's what you'd imagine, but it's really good.
And the same thing with pizzas as well.
They also have, which you'll find interesting. I don't know if they have it in England as well. A samosa roll. So it's actually a regular samosa wrapped up in a naan.
Like a hot pocket?
Like a hot pocket, yes.
Oh, so it's like double bready?
Yes, it's double bready.
There's a YouTuber I follow who does cooking videos, and his name is called Food Wishes.
Oh yeah.
And Chef John, he did a video like maybe just yesterday where he basically took a samosa's inside and he put it into a quesadilla.
Interesting.
And he's like, he just took the filling of a samosa and made a quesadilla out of it.
Isn't that
And he was like, I prefer this.
Was there any cheese in there?
No, there wasn't cheese. It was just proper. He put peas in there, which I don't like, but Besides that, it looked like standard samosa filling.
That's like
It's
a
definitely
Indian
easy
dish.
to deep fry.
Isn't there an Indian dish that's like
Yes.
potato filled, but it's
Yes.
like a quesadilla kind of thing?
It's southern
It's like a-
Indian.
Yeah.
Bhatura?
It's an aloo paratha.
Ajit would know this because he took me to the place.
Yes.
But that is a thing.
That is a thing, yep.
Is there Indian pizzas over there in England?
You mean like chicken tikka pizza?
Yeah.
I had a paneer pizza once.
Yeah, like a chicken
But,
tikka pizza, because they have a place here, and I really enjoy that.
There's two kinds of chicken that are really popular with fast food places. There's piri piri chicken,
Mm.
which is the South African kind, and then there's Indian chicken tikka and that kind of stuff.
Mm. So, are you? I'm gonna gear shift here. Are you interested in any new current music, and do you have an opinion on that? Just, I guess, what genres do you? One, do you listen to new music, and two, what genres are they?
I mostly listen to stuff from the 60s to the 90s. There's a bunch of stuff from the 2000s I listened to, which I listened to when I was a teenager, so I still have that. New music,
I guess rock isn't too mainstream now, is it? Like it was probably more in the 90s.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a new song which just got stuck in my head or something. I don't know, man, because even when I was in Long Island back in 2009, if I had the radio on, I would just want to turn it off.
Well, I do agree that the radio music I don't enjoy either, but now with the internet, there's usually you can find, you know, the music you like from people who are making new music. So if you're not interested in new music, is there a reason? Is there a reason why they're not making it like how they, I guess, used to make music?
Oh, how you like
we're
it.
totally skipping past my dissertation topic.
Okay. What was that?
I did a dissertation on K-pop.
Oh, okay.
When I was studying here, and yeah, I used to listen to that stuff, but now after a while I got bored of it. It was a phase, to be honest. But
and what your general census was that it was enjoyable or good?
The very interesting thing is with the Korean producers who make K-pop, and they had a lot of Western producers fly in and also produce their bands, groups rather. If you listen to it from a purely musical point of view, there's a lot of influences that they take from the same stuff that I like. So I kind of saw it as like a modernization of stuff that I really enjoy to listen to in general. Like, let's say there's a K-pop song which takes that song Sweet Dreams by Eurythmics and puts it through like a hyperspeed kind of thing, make it modern sounding like that. It doesn't quite rip it off, but it kind of is very heavily influenced by that.
Can you hum it
and
for
it's very
us?
heavily influenced by I can't.
Okay.
But they take a lot of influences from the 80s, mostly the 80s, and I love 80s music, cheesy 80s music. I love that stuff. And they took a lot of influences from that, and they made modern pop songs, which I couldn't understand, which is probably a plus, because from my understanding, the lyrics are very cheesy. But if you use the human voice as an instrument, it's very easy to just hear the music as almost an instrumental, and that's when they break out one or two English lines. Then you have to kind of like mentally like just
it's no
push
longer
that away.
Right.
You get used to it.
So you didn't have to actually understand the lyrics, I guess.
Yeah, you don't have to understand the lyrics. You can just listen to the melodies, and I found a lot of the melodies to be really good. But then in recent years, I don't want to sound like an old man in this regard as well, but it went downhill, believe it or not.
Back in my day, K-pop was 5 years ago.
Michael,
even when I started listening to K-pop in 2014, I was listening to stuff from 2010. And I was thinking, okay, that's the good stuff, but then the new stuff is not as good.
Interesting.
So it was like kind of like a weird, yeah.
Michael has a question. Michael asks, how do you find good rock music now that it is not as mainstream as before? Any suggestions? K-pop is pretty enjoyable.
It is. It's like a massively guilty pleasure. Rock music, I'm pretty sure if you go on Spotify and you look for artists that sound like the artists that you like already, I'm sure you can find a lot of stuff on there.
So what would you,
Um,
if you were doing a search like that, who would you be looking for?
Hashtag Metallica.
I'd be looking for playlists, probably.
Hmm.
Playlists which include an artist or one or two artists that I do like. I want to see what other people have put into that playlist to capture the same
So
kinds of
which
mood.
artist do you like? Name the name.
Modern artists. I mean, the artists that I like Metallica, Pink Floyd, Nine Inch Nails, all these bands that don't really do much anymore, and Nine Inch Nails, the new stuff I just don't even like. But Metallica's latest album, which was 2016, I thought was very good.
Mm.
It was.
And for people they're still rocking after all these years. But other new music, I'm trying to. There's a band called Ghost who become really popular. They have like a kind of very melodic, very pop songy kind of metal music, and they come from Sweden. They have very nice music, and they dress up like the Pope and ghouls, and they have this whole really majestic, kind of twisted, majestic kind of, what do you call it?
Like Marilyn Manson.
Stage show.
Hmm.
Kind of like Marilyn Manson, but a lot more tongue in cheek, and they have a lot more like goofy, kind of campy kind of music videos, and it's pretty cool. They have some good songs. They're one of those bands that got really popular recently in the last few years. Ghost is the name.
Do you listen to
And-
music at home, or do you go out to listen to it? Do you? I
Like
mean,
live?
you know how some people like to go and listen to live music, or is that not your?
You saw
thing?
Metallica live, right?
Yeah, I saw Metallica live exactly 10 years ago, this 28th of January.
Mhm.
That was my last concert, actually. I didn't go to one after that. And even that one, I had to, because I'm such a Metallica fan, that I joined their fan club to get pre-sale tickets so I could be right there in front. And I went and bought 4 of them, and I found 2 of my friends who I was suite mates with at the time, and then one guy from another building. We drove to the show, and it was a great time. But that was my last concert because for some reason, my friends in New York didn't really feel like going to shows, and now that I'm here, I don't really feel like going to shows because I have to go by myself, and I don't know, going to a concert by myself doesn't feel like a lot of fun.
Mm.
Can't reminisce on it.
I just don't like the large group of people, just like in your
Yeah.
way, like elbowing you
Oh, yeah,
accidentally.
there was a guy right in front of us trying to start a mosh pit, and people just threw him out. Of the way.
Yeah.
What was he trying to start?
A
mosh
mosh
pit.
pit where like
Oh.
you just like intentionally hit and run into people, but like
Oh,
through
oh,
the
oh.
passion of the music.
That was a good description.
Because we were like in a very narrow side of the stage.
Yeah.
Because their stage is in the very center of the arena, so you had like wider areas and the narrow areas. We were in the narrow area, so kind of like etiquette is you don't start a mosh pit in the narrow area.
Yeah.
This
Where
drunk guy
people
was
can't
trying.
escape.
People just chucked him out of the way, and he went over to the side.
Yeah. I guess.
But live shows can be fun, yeah.
Yeah. And it depends on the acoustics. I feel like festivals maybe would be. Well, I guess it depends what the festival is. I was gonna say not as enjoyable, but.
Do you have any thoughts
Again-
on procedurally generated music, so music created by computers? And do you think that that has a place in the future for giving us music to enjoy and listen to?
I mean, like an algorithm picking out the notes in a scale or notes in a key
Yeah,
and
unassisted by
making
a
a song
human.
out of it.
Yeah. Have
I
you
don't
even
think I've ever heard anything like that.
Okay, because I've heard some samples, and it's nothing like it sounds like it could be some song. A lot of demos are like classical music, and it sounds like, oh yeah, that could have been created by some guy 100 years ago, and it doesn't make me go. I haven't like found some algorithm that I'm like, oh yeah, I really like listening to this, but it's on the horizon, and I just wonder if anybody has any thoughts on could that be the new wave
Yeah,
of
because we
music?
talk about creativity and how there'll be another level of creativity as we move toward the future, and it won't necessarily be created by individuals.
Or maybe, I mean, it might be created, through software and algorithms as opposed to kind of the manual process of playing instruments.
Well, a lot of people who are way more old-timey than even me, they tend to look at modern music and say, "Oh, it's all made by a machine. It sounds so digital and so fake."
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of effort made to make it sound like that. And another reason why I ended up listening to a lot of K-pop music instead of Western pop is because when I turn on something in the Western charts, it would be very minimalistic, which I don't mind sometimes, but it'd be a lot of yelling over like a minimalistic beat,
Mm.
a lot of like slurring. And then when I listen to K-pop, it's a lot of like, I guess the word would be try hard, because
Okay.
you have all these all these key changes in a song, and you have all these strange like bridge sections, and it got kind of progressive some of the songs get really strange and progressive and avant-garde in a way, which is which makes me think, yeah, these producers in the studio, they're huge music geeks, and
Mm.
they know to get the money, they have to do these K-pop songs, and to get the exposure, the money, and all that, the
Mm-hmm.
royalties. So they go ahead and they get out their music nerdiness into a K-pop song, and it was very interesting to listen to because it was like the opposite of something like a Little Pump song, which is just like a beat repeating again and again, and then you know,
Right.
that kind of thing. It was, but I don't think I've heard of anything which is just purely done by a machine.
Yeah, I was gonna
Mm.
like. I feel like if it was done by a machine, how would it? Is it just gonna kind of generate based on everyone's reaction or one person's reaction? Like,
No,
how
so
would it?
it's to be honest, I don't know how it works, but all I know is that it's not like a repetitive thing. Like the programmer doesn't say, "Okay, I want you to play these notes." Like you create some sort of algorithm where it just picks whatever it wants, and it comes out just like it comes out like random, but random in a musical way. It still sounds like music.
Mm, so it just
Um,
makes it on its own.
yeah, it just makes it on its own based on the algorithm. So essentially, I
Okay.
guess it has the all the tools. It knows what it has all the sounds of the instruments. It by itself decides like
Mm,
how to put it together.
That would be interesting to listen to, but then you kind of detach yourselves from it, like from an emotional standpoint, because you think, okay, it's interesting to listen to these notes that are being put together by a computer in
mm,
Hmm.
a way that it makes musical sense.
Hmm.
But then you'll eventually you'll think, yeah, but it doesn't really give any artistic like expression from somebody. It's just a computer. And a lot of people totally remove themselves from that aspect when it comes to pop music as well.
Hmm.
Like they'll see, okay, yeah, somebody threw this together in a studio, but its general mindset is so shallow. It doesn't speak to me as a person. It's just noise to me. I
mm.
want something that kind of speaks to me more. So
Do you,
that hurdle will be, yeah, sure, there'll be computers making music, fine, but will people be able to overlook that part?
I was gonna say, if people, do you think if people didn't know it was made by a machine, they would end up enjoying it more?
Well,
Like
see,
if you had a cheeseburger that was made by a machine that was really good,
right.
you
Well, I
have no
guess that's the
idea,
bottom line. If we can
right?
make we can make music algorithmically, and it connects with people, and I didn't tell you that it was made by a machine. I mean, even today, if you heard stuff on the radio, um, I mean, technically those are made by machines, but again, I don't know that part probably won't come into the conversation as much when it becomes a normal thing and you're just online browsing like, ooh, I like the way this sounds,
Mm.
and then kind of who it's made by is almost an afterthought. Like, okay, let me look into this. Who made this? And then
I guess maybe the beat could be made, but then when you get into vocalists, I mean, maybe at some point.
I mean, we already have we're able to replicate kind of human voice. It sounds robotic right now, but like think of like Google when it how it answers your phone for you now.
But
And
those are voice actors who do that.
is it though?
I know Alexa is for sure. I don't know about Google.
Okay, fair enough.
There's an interesting piece of machinery which I'm getting tomorrow actually, which kind of relates to this. It's called a Kemper Profiler, and basically it's this German company that came out with this kit, this unit, which basically it profiles guitar amplifiers and bass amplifiers. And what that basically is you have this digital piece of this machinery, which is it's only been released in 2012, and ever since then it's been improved with software updates.
Hmm.
And what you do is you take the line out from it, plug it into a mic, you put the mic in front of your real guitar amp. It can be a tube run guitar amp, can be a solid state transistor amplifier, But the thing about guitarists are we tend to prefer tube sound because it sounds more analog. It sounds more natural to us.
Mm.
The cranking of valves and tubes and all that. I can't quite get away with a tube amp in my living situation because you really have to crank those to get the really good tone out of it. So I've been using a transistor amplifier, which is still very good, but it's not
Is the
the
electricity
pinnacle of
consumption way higher for tube amplifiers?
No, I don't believe so.
When you say it's not, you can't use it in your living space, it's because it gets too.
Because he has to get.
Oh, you have to
get
play it
loud.
really loud.
Even a 15-watt tube amp would be, if I put it on full volume, the police would come by.
Oh,
It get really loud.
so you have to play it
I
loud
play
to
my
like
amp like
hear
9
it.
o'clock.
Mm.
9 o'clock out of like a full dial. But the thing about this Kemper profiler is it uses EQ and the way it does it, it sends these signals through the guitar amp and it picks up the signals through the microphone and it makes a snapshot of how the guitar amp sounds, and then you've captured it, and then you can use that profiler. You plug it into your preamp, you plug it into your computer,
Mhm.
you can get the sound of your analog tube guitar amp through your computer through that Kemper profiler now.
Hmm.
And it's being used by so many bands now because it's so much easier than carrying around a very heavy piece of tube amp machinery, getting your roadies to carry that around. You just carry around this lunchbox looking thing,
Mhm.
and that will have all your tones. It's very accurate sounding. In fact, a lot of purists have been wowed by it because it's like, for the sound of a recorded guitar with an amp in front of the mic, that is, if you listen to a rock song, that's what you're hearing. You're hearing the microphone from the amp. You're not hearing the amp how it would have sounded in the room.
Mhm.
Hmm.
But that is enough. If you're playing a live show, you can have that sound, the perfect sound that you want, very easily obtainable through this piece of machinery. And you can have it mimic those guitar amps, like 500 different guitar amps into one of these profiler boxes, and you can carry it around the world with you, and you can plug it into the PA system in any arena, and there you go, you have your sound.
So for the
It's like,
layperson, so you put together different sets of amplifiers to kind of act as a filter on your sound. Is that a correct assumption on why you would pick different amplifiers?
yeah, different amplifiers do very different things, just like different guitars do different things. Like a certain Fender amplifier would be very nice for a very clean sound, very
Mm.
bright, clean sound with lots of echo.
Mhm.
Whereas another amplifier would be very good for like heavy distortion, metallica tones. For example, there's an amplifier made by a guy named Howard Dumble, who's based in California. He's been making them since the 70s. He sells them for like $50,000 at least.
Holy
They're
moly.
very they're very boutique level lamps made for pros, and they're very, very expensive and very, very, very good. I've heard the demos on YouTube. So this guy went and he profiled his Dumble amp, and he sells the profile online for like $30. And he's made so much money
Oh man.
because people can't afford the real thing, but they can afford these snapshots of the sound, and it's pretty accurate. It's not like 100% of the way, but 85% of the way with paying $30. It's a no-brainer. I'm gonna buy that once I get this thing
Wow.
tomorrow.
So the
I'm
profiler, so you can basically, it's like save. It's almost like saving a preset, and you can just do that almost like manually, as in like as you said, you just put the guitar in front of the microphone, and then this kind of intercepts the sound in between.
Or do you plug the guitar in directly?
You plug in the Kemper profiler into a guitar amp,
Hmm.
and then you use a mic to capture it sends a signal. It sends this very scary sounding signal
Hmm.
and these thump sounds, but it picks up everything through the microphone, transmits it back, and then it takes that and it uses that as a snapshot of, okay, this is what this guitar sounds like. So if you use the profiler to play a chord or any note, it's going to sound like that amp.
Hmm.
And there's A/B comparisons on YouTube, which I've been going through. And I thought, you know what? I want to find this. I want to buy this thing and try it out. Because if I can avoid having to buy like a real tube guitar amp,
Mhm.
which I can't really make full use of in here anyway, if I can buy this and use it with headphones, that's just great. Which is probably what I'm going to be doing.
Are we going to get
So-
a sample of your music? Do we have
Let's
time
see.
Yeah,
for
once
it?
I get everything you see unless I'm lazy, I just use my phone.
Mhm.
Anything on Instagram or Facebook will probably be through that because it's just so easy to use.
Mm.
You just record the guitar signal into your computer, sync it with the video, and then that's it. It's good and done.
Were you referring to once he gets this thing set up, or were you referring to him play something live right now?
Well, I was referring to live right now and the thing set up, but
Okay,
you
well,
know.
Well,
at time right now
well,
we have about 7 minutes left. So, um, is that something you'd be interested in, or is that too much work?
um,
You can say no to us.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
You won't insult us.
I'm trying to think of how I could get away. I can't play electric guitar right now because it's
Mm,
1 a.m.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
that's
No,
true.
we don't want your neighbor knocking at your door.
yeah,
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
true.
At risk of the podcast.
But
Oh.
I mean, we do always end with
Well-
naming your.
Well, we did have a question, or
Oh,
I did.
you do
at
have
least.
a?
Oh, okay.
Well, so we were wondering about how you started with guitar. Like, I know you're interested in rock music, but like, why wouldn't you have gone for the drums or something else? Like, why'd you pick the guitar specifically? Or I'm assuming it had a much higher learning curve, or maybe it didn't.
Drums are very hard to play.
Hmm.
I've tried a few times. I just can't get the multitasking quite down. Guitar I picked up because there was a few bands I was listening to at the time, and I would always look at the guitarist and think, this guy is making so many different sounds come from the guitar using guitar effects and guitar pedals. It's a very versatile instrument. And I thought, I'd like to do that. I'd like to try all these different sounds coming from just one instrument. And there was this guy who was a friend of a friend. He used to play guitar. I watched him play guitar, and I thought, yeah, that seems really cool. I want to try that too. It just kind of happened that way. I'm not sure how. It was a huge craze back in the early 2000s in Pakistan, where all these guys in Lahore were just buying guitars, and it trickled down to Bhavalpur in the sense that I bought a guitar, but otherwise people around me in school weren't really interested in that.
Hmm.
But I do think it was the right choice for me because it's a very expressive instrument. You can do a lot with it. You can play and you can sing at the same time with it, or you can play all these guitar solos and blues music and most genres of music, even K-pop. There's a lot of guitar work in K-pop that I listen to, and I think that's really interesting. That music, that particular song, sounds like a surf rock song from the 60s, early 60s, the way he's picking that guitar, the tremolo picking. And for a guitar nerd, those things are really like fun to listen to. So I think it just naturally happened that I like guitar more than the other ones.
Is the guitar and the piano, are they similar in the way the music is composed or written? Because for some reason I get the sense that they are.
I think I read somewhere that to compose music, just a pop song or a modern rock song or something which isn't quite classical music, it's easiest to do if you're using a guitar or a piano because you can make the full chords and you can play an accompaniment to them. Or for a guitar, you can just strum the chords and you can sing a melody over them. On the piano, you can use your left hand to play the chords. Your right hand, you can think of a melody to go on top of it. So people do find it easier to compose on those two. But in terms of,
Like if you were
I think
like
piano might be a little easier.
in FL Studio, if I think about when I was kind of making beats and you just kind of line up the notes with your little square boxes, rectangles, and you can make them wider. That I mean was kind of piano based because there was a little piano on the left, but I was curious if like the guitar, the way you kind of make it in like FL Studio, if it was similar to like
I guess
how you would think of playing a guitar.
the actual note sheets are like the same, right? Like the what is it? When I would like read the notes when I was
script.
playing it, yeah, the actual script that's like drawn or whatever the
Right,
A B
the
notes, the musical notes,
music sheet.
is the same in piano and guitar,
Guitar?
right? Or no?
It should be, yeah.
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 Okay.
I can't read music notation, but
Hmm.
yeah, you definitely, if you're able to read musical notation, you should be able to use pretty much any instrument and get away with playing the melody. If you know the placement of the notes on in this case the guitar neck, or even something like what's an unusual instrument? I don't know.
trombone.
As long as
Ukulele.
you're, huh?
I said ukulele and Darnell said trombone.
I'll show you this ukulele I have.
Oh,
It was
Oh.
extra
all
they showed
right.
in. It was this I bought from a huge guitar store in Germany. I bought a bunch of stuff from them. So they threw this in for free. It cost like 15 euros, so you know it's not going to be very good.
Mm,
Hmm.
And it's like it doesn't even stay in tune really, and
okay.
because it's so cheaply made. But I thought it was interesting, and I do count it as one of the guitars I have.
Huh.
I don't play it though.
So actually,
It's very frustrating.
you brought up an interesting point. You had mentioned that you can't. I don't know if you said you can't read it, but you can't write like a musical composition.
Oh
What are
yeah.
your thoughts on like people who can do that and how the music they make turns out versus people who just know how to play the instruments?
Mm.
Like what are
And
your does it make a difference on how they compose music if you can read and write?
also, did you learn in without the musical notes, or you just did it by ear? That's add-on
I
question.
did it by ear, and I use guitar tabs, which I like. They tell you the placements on which note to put your finger. It's a very simplified version of this whole the musical note thing. And it's very specific to guitar.
Hmm.
But musical notes, I mean, you guys like Oasis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Noel Gallagher never learned to read or write music. I don't think he can read tabs either. He just takes a melody, he takes a chord progression, and he just records it. Then he just works on it afterwards.
Oh
Because
wow.
once you figure out chords that work well with each other, you don't have to really know theory too much to figure out if something sounds good to you. You can run it by others; it'll sound good to them, and you can build on top of that.
Hmm.
Um,
I've
but if you're writing like a full orchestra, then it would be very helpful because there's a bunch of things in musical notation which you can't transcribe into guitar tabs, which are things like time changes and different tempos and stuff like that. Stuff which is very specific to musical notation
Hmm.
and sheet music, which you can't really get away with doing that without using the actual written down stuff. But I'm sure there's been people who can hear the sound in their head, they can hear the melodies in their head, and they can have someone else who knows these things transcribe them into sheet music.
okay.
Whereas they can build on the melody in their head, or they can sit down, play a piano, and then say, okay, I like this melody, and then I'm going to ask somebody to take this melody that I just wrote, add it to the rest of this pile that I'm building on. Um,
Gotcha.
but if you're gonna sit on a stage and play the violin, you definitely need to know
Yeah.
sheet music in front of you, so you know where you're going to go next, and there's pages and pages of it. I really do respect that, but I couldn't do that.
And coordinating the whole orchestra. I feel like you can't just be like, all
Yeah.
right, guys, let's freestyle it.
Yeah. Well, maybe that
Just go by
that would
my-
just be
just
crazy.
go by my-
Has anyone ever tried
Have
that?
you have you ever been to a bar where they freestyle jazz?
I think
Very interesting.
didn't you guys go and then me and Donald joined you at some jazz
Did we?
thing around
Yes,
here?
I don't
yes,
even remember.
yes, yes.
Was it
I don't know
freestyle?
if he was like freestyle. I couldn't tell.
Hmm.
Was it in Redwood City or
Uh,
San Francisco?
No, it was in not Redwood
Yeah.
City, maybe San Mateo or
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
And you
I
guys, it was
remember.
a tight.
And you didn't want to stay there too
I didn't
long.
want to stay too long. Too
I
many,
do
too many
remember
people,
that.
too cramply tight. But
Yes.
yeah, I don't remember if he was like
I don't think I
just
was there.
riffing or.
No,
Um,
that'd be
Yeah,
impressive, I
guitar,
guess.
jazz jams and improvisation is very interesting because jazz chords are very intricate. They're very different than standard pop music, rock music chords. They have their own little added notes that make them very interesting. Things that I can't play. Things that I watched other people play when I was in college, and I used to watch them and think, that sounds really not really my thing, but it sounds interesting. And people improvising over that and going through the different key changes and jazz music is very interesting to watch. It may not be your thing, but um, just watching them play off of each other, it's a very organic feeling.
I
If
haven't
it's
seen.
happening at a club and you're watching that.
do you think the structure of like music theory and learning how to read and write music, do you think that limits a musician's creative potential?
I guess it depends on the instrument, maybe.
There are some people who say that if they start with the notation, they'll start with the theory, and they learn a lot of theory. It might be a little hard for them to paint outside of the box.
Hmm.
might be hard for them to say, okay, I want to try something different, but they're kind of chained to the thing that they know works, the thing that's traditional. I've heard of that happening. For me, it's the opposite. For me, it's like I don't know any theory, so I have to just play things by ear, and then if it works, it works. But when composing, I just have to keep listening back to it and thinking, does this work quite so well? Does it not work quite so well? Then I have to make a decision based on what it sounds like to me. But I can't come up with 4 chords and then look at my guitar neck with all the different notes and think, yeah, I'll probably play in this key or I'll play at this scale for this.
Right.
I wish I could actually. There's some basic music theory learning that I should be able to force myself to do, but I just get really lazy and I just default back into just playing something that I already know,
Right.
or just improvising by ear over some backing track. YouTube is very good for this. YouTube did not exist it did exist when I first started playing, but not at the level it is now, where you can have all these backing tracks in certain keys, and you just leave the backing track on for like 20 minutes, and it's like this slow jam, and you just play something on your guitar to improvise over that, and through that you get more and more comfortable with, okay, I'm playing in D minor, I guess these notes work, and etc. But I have to do it by ear, and there's always a few mistakes in the middle. But as long as I can hear the mistakes, I'm not too worried.
Right. Right. Okay, well, let's see. What time are we at? So we pretty much hit our hour mark. We usually go for at least an hour. Any other thoughts on our minds? Anything?
So if you wanted to follow Aamer and his blog,
social media plugs.
yes,
Aamer,
yes.
if you have any social media plugs, feel free to list them now, and I can include them in the description of this video.
I'll type in your chat.
Oh, okay, perfect.
I go by AORNIC on YouTube, and I guess on Instagram as well. Yeah, those two are pretty much the ones I use the most.
Can you tell us a bit about that? Because I never understood the AORNIC. What's
Aornic?
Yes.
It was kind of a jab at Timur at the time. Timur was walking around calling himself Lambda 87.
I remember that.
And then I think I didn't know Lambda was a real thing at the time, so I kind of thought it was a made-up word. So I thought I'll make up my own thing. So I did, and
you just made you made Aornic up? That's pretty good name for it to be made up.
Timur is typing right now. He's gonna
say what it stands for. I thought Lambda was from Half-Life.
It's
I thought it was
a scientific, it's a Greek thing used in science.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
I didn't forget about that. What happened was Timur asked, what does it stand for?
Oh, he
I
says
just made something up. I double made something up. It didn't really stand for that.
Okay.
Timur says
Words.
Timur said it stands for.
Aamer Nauman is cool. Yeah, I made that up.
He just made that up.
But what happened was that what I found is that a lot of people tend to see my name, and since it's not a real thing, they say Acorn. A lot of people online kept calling me Acorn. They said we just default to calling you Acorn because Aornic isn't really a thing.
Yeah.
And I took that. I made that my website name.
Same thing happened.
Acorn.
Yeah.
Acorn Audio is my website name.
Okay.
Same thing happened with Faisal.
That from those people.
Faisal's name is Feezy, and people online just kept calling him Freezy. He's like, I'm not.
We're
Freezy.
playing games. Hey, Freezy, can you?
That's funny.
Yeah, I just took like the online community's like second name for me, and I turned it into my. Okay, I said to myself, Aornic is going to be my reviewer thing. Acorn is going to be my business thing.
Sounds good.
My official company name is A&Q Distribution Limited, which is very boring. When I wanted to make my website, I needed a better name, so Acorn Audio, that became the name.
I like the technical business names
yeah.
personally. It sounds, I like industrial sounding names.
LLC Industries.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay. So
those were the two social media plugs, Aornic and
Aornic on Instagram and
AORNIC on Instagram and YouTube.
Yep. Go buy yourself some expensive headphones We
or
know.
the
or the
earbuds.
less ones,
Yeah.
or the earbuds.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know Faisal's been doing some expensive Christmas shopping,
Yeah.
so he can get on that too.
Affiliate links in the description.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, I'll stay on the call. I'm gonna hang up the stream, and then I just want to have a
Post game.
post-game conversation. All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in,
Thank
and
you.
toodaloo.
Toodaloo.
All right,
Bye.
thanks. Goodbye.